The Church Reimagined, the heart of the community. In this imagined society, the church would no longer be understood as merely a place people visit once a week. It would become something much closer to what it may always have been intended to be, the living center of community life. The modern world has scattered human activity across countless separate buildings, schools, gyms, shopping centers, courts, cafés, offices, entertainment venues, each driven by different economic incentives, most of them rooted in consumption and profit. If I were in charge, this fragmentation would end. The church building would replace the high street, the shopping mall, and many profit-driven institutions, not by removing community life, but by bringing it back together under one shared purpose: care rather than consumption. Ending wasteful consumerism. Unnecessary consumerism would gradually be phased out, particularly systems that depend on waste, exploitation, or artificial demand. This would not happen through deprivation or sudden loss. Transitional systems similar to furloughs used in past crises would ensure that nobody lost security, income, or housing during the change. No one would be left struggling to pay bills or survive. The resources already exist to prevent that. The difference would simply be choosing to organize them compassionately. Large profit-driven retail systems that displaced small craftspeople and local trade would give way to human-scale production again. Skilled trades, artisanship, repair, and quality work created with care. Advertising would disappear. Without constant persuasion telling people who they should be or what they should buy, status would slowly shift away from wealth and toward character, virtue, honesty, kindness, and contribution to community life. Respect would no longer be measured by consumption, but by how a person lives. What the church building becomes. The new church would be far larger than traditional religious buildings. It would function almost like a miniature village contained within a shared structure, surrounded by natural living environments. Where malls and shopping complexes once stood, these community churches would emerge. Inside would be everything a town truly needs: movement and physical life. At its center would be a vast gymnasium, not a commercial fitness space, but a place for joyful movement and physical development. There would be full gymnastics facilities with tumbling floors and foam pits, climbing structures and bars, spaces for martial arts and cooperative sports, roller skating and indoor skate areas, park hour environments designed for safe exploration, indoor and outdoor climbing walls, swimming facilities integrated into the wider complex. Children would learn balance, strength, and confidence through movement from an early age. Physical literacy would be treated as essential to emotional well-being and personal growth. The entire structure would be designed in connection with the earth, grounded physically and environmentally, reducing artificial barriers between people and nature. Learning without schooling. Traditional schooling would dissolve into community-based education. Learning would happen through participation. Adults mentoring children. Skills shared across generations. Practical learning embedded in daily life. Ethical values demonstrated through example rather than instruction. Education would no longer be confined to classrooms but woven into community living itself. Adults would rediscover purpose as guides, teachers, and role models. The shared standard would be simple: live truthfully, do no harm, and contribute to the well-being of others. The shared kitchen and cafe. A fully stocked vegan community kitchen would operate continuously. Food would never again be a source of fear or scarcity. Everyone could contribute according to ability, preparing meals, growing ingredients, or helping maintain the space, and everyone could eat freely. Ingredients would be stored collectively, reducing waste and eliminating the need for every household to duplicate resources. Eating would return to being a communal act rather than an economic transaction. Spaces for gathering and governance. The church would also contain large assembly halls used for community meetings, worship or reflection services, mediation and restorative justice, civic decision-making, cultural events and celebrations. Courtrooms and council chambers would no longer feel distant or intimidating. Governance would happen visibly, among the people it affects. Transparency would become ordinary. Libraries, labs, and care spaces. Within the complex would also be libraries and quiet study areas, laboratories for medicine preparation and food science, healing and therapeutic rooms, creative workshops, gaming and recreation areas redesigned around cooperation rather than addiction. Sterile environments would exist where necessary, but most learning and living would remain connected to natural surroundings. Markets instead of shopping. Outside the church building would be open market spaces. Trade would remain, but transformed. Market day would replace shopping culture. People would bring what they create, grow, repair, or craft, sharing skills and exchanging goods without pressure to maximize profit. Work would become an expression of purpose rather than survival anxiety. People would not exist to serve the economy would exist to support life. A village around the church. Surrounding each church hub would be eco-living communities integrated with the land, homes, gardens, and shared natural spaces designed to function as closed ecological systems. Waste would be minimized because production itself would be mindful and local. Technology would still exist, but it would serve human well-being rather than dominate it. The meaning of church. In this vision, church is not defined by denomination or doctrine. It is defined by function. A church is simply the place where a community gathers to care for one another, to remain accountable, to learn, to heal, and to celebrate life together. It becomes the physical reminder of a shared agreement. That every person matters. That no one is abandoned. That care comes before profit. And that society exists not to extract value from people, but to help them become whole.